Ever wondered how you can discover your own personal interior design style and use it to design a room or even an entire home? There is a process, and that's what today's episode is all about. Hi, I'm Marina Coates. Welcome to Cinematically Inspired Design, where we take the design secrets from the cinema and bring them into our own homes. On today's episode, we'll be learning how to discover our own personal interior design style. Everybody has one. I'll teach you the process to figure it out and use it to design a room or an entire home that is as unique as you are.
And it's all inside of you, just waiting to be tapped. You just need to learn how to access it. And that particular process is through the medium of storyboards, which is similar to the way the cinema develops their own design styles for a film. Let's get started. What if I were to ask you to compose a list of your top 20 all-time favorite songs? Out of the hundreds of songs you love, you would need to narrow it down to your absolute favorites of all time. Songs you'll never tire of. Not trendy, flash-in-the-pan tunes, but rather the songs that stand the test of time. Initially, your list might be quite long, but as you whittle away at it, certain songs would start to stand out. There's just no question, you know, they would make the top 20. And others would fall by the wayside. You might still like them, they just weren't top 20 worthy. There are songs you like, and then there are those that you have a relationship with. They resonate at an altogether different level. Those top 20 songs are like comfort food. They trigger emotions and memories that speak to your soul. In fact, they're almost medicinal. We recently conducted this little exercise in our own family, and here's what was interesting. After analyzing each family member's songs, it became apparent that each person's list had its own unique characteristics. Although diverse, the songs belonged together, whether it was by the tempo, the feelings they created, the types of melodies, or the lyrics. The list of songs functioned almost like a fingerprint, unique to that particular person. And the interesting part was that none of us suspected beforehand that that would be the outcome. None of us knew that there was an underlying theme to what we liked in music. Design works the same way. Your conscious self may not even realize the common themes behind what really resonates with you. Common characteristics will show up upon analysis, key elements of design that represent those things that for you are timeless. In design, that's what we're searching for, the timeless. The elements that will never grow old for you. Not just trends, those will almost always be a flash in the pan, a temporary whim that you'll inevitably outgrow. Your subconscious self is very much aware of this information. It's all stored securely in that vault of memories and preferences, your likes and dislikes, but more importantly, what you like versus what you truly love. It knows the melodies that resonate at the deepest levels, weaving together form and color and memories into a virtual symphony of design. It has been silently building your top 20 list from the earliest days of your life's experiences. That inner self not only knows what you like, but also why you like it. It's the expert of all things you. It knows you like the back of your hand, so even if you haven't quite put it all together yourself yet, it's in there. There is a process to it, and it's not complicated. A storyboard is the method we use to unlock those secrets. The word storyboard, in this instance, refers to a similar process found in the cinema. Just to be clear, we're not talking about a regular interior design board, which is a board containing different elements of a design to see how they would work together before proceeding with a project. The type of board, a storyboard, that I'm going to show you is different. The storyboard is more a representation of who you are in terms of design. You need to know that before you delve into the more concrete aspects of design. Let me explain. Before any good movie is made, the production designer draws up storyboards. They depict various important scenes from the film, but more importantly, for how we will be using it, It also sets the mood and tone of the film, sometimes even giving it its color palette. Of course, you won't be depicting scenes from your life, but you will be setting the mood and tone you want in your home. And just like the cinema, you'll be using it to help tell your story and to define your unique design style. Because everyone has a story, a design story. You just need to figure out where to look for it. This is the method we use to bring the subconscious to the conscious level. It works almost like a form of design-based free association, a method to bring the creative side of your brain to life. Now I'm going to show you 2 different movies which I've set up to be similar to how they might have looked as a storyboard. I want you to notice not just the colors and materials, paint and furniture, but what mood or feeling is conveyed to you in each scene. This storyboard mock-up for Emma exhibits a light, carefree, whimsical world mixed with aristocracy and humor. Interestingly, the color palette is similar to the many confections on display throughout the film, fun pastels and creams. But each work of art is subject to the viewer's interpretation. So what I've just given you is my own interpretation. What I want you to do now is to examine the feelings and moods it conjures up in your mind. That's the key element in this process. No 2 viewers of the same art are going to see or feel the same things. I recently saw a meme that illustrates this principle perfectly. It says, "The first thing you need to understand about me is that I'm not you." Let that sink in for a moment. Nothing could be more true in design. How a certain room makes you feel may be completely different than what it makes someone else feel. Remember that storyboards are all about finding out what your particular unique design style is. Now on to the next movie storyboard. This is from the film The Red Shoes, and this one is so different than the last. To me, it is moody and mysterious, with deeply saturated colors in contrast to the light and cheerful palettes from Emma. The stills have an overall watercolor look to them, almost as though they've been hand-painted, much like an old Disney film like Snow White. There's a richness and depth to the design. But once again, I am much more interested in how you see it. Give it some thought. Analyze the feelings it produces in you. Again, let me emphasize. As they say, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. 2 people can look at the same work of art. One will hate it, and the other will love it. Neither is wrong. In fact, they're both right. When you are designing your home, the correct answer is the one that comes from within you. Designing a home that makes you feel a certain way, that creates the mood you want there and tells your story, not some other artist's. You are the artist of your home. This will be a 3-part series. This episode, part 1, is devoted to the process of gathering information for your storyboard. Part 2 will be learning how to analyze that information and then to edit and whittle it down, just like I described with the song list earlier, to reduce it to the key elements of your design style, those things that resonate with you on a deeper level, tossing out the passing fancies that have no staying power. This is where you will examine what types of feelings are produced in you by different elements of design, and in particular, which of those feelings you would want to have in your home. And part 3 of this series is where we will learn how to apply time-tested design principles and techniques to help produce the final results. Because just like with a recipe, even if you have all of the right ingredients, you don't just dump them all into a pan and bake them. With this design method, you also need to follow a logical order. It's an organized process that I will teach you, and following this recipe precisely will guarantee success. Parts 1, 2, and 3 on the concept of storyboards are meant to be introductory episodes. They will teach you the basics and definitely give you more than enough to get started. But for those of you who want to go deeper, this channel will bring you many more episodes to flesh it out further, with details, examples, and more tools to help you on your design journey. Stick with me, and you'll be able to learn as much about the process as you want. Gathering information. This is such a fun part of the process. Take my advice and take your time with this one. You'll definitely get better results if you don't rush it. First, begin accumulating a list of things you like and don't like. I'm not talking paint chips and fabrics, although that can be part of it. But that's a more concrete way of looking at the task. You will need to go much deeper and greatly expand on that. Spend time really thinking about all kinds of things that resonate with you on some level. Items, people, or events that for you have a mood or feeling attached to them. Like the song list we mentioned earlier, things that affect you or have affected you in your life, but obviously looking for the feelings, emotions, and stories that you want to bring into your home. Start by going back to childhood. Think of memories, sights, sounds, smells, and begin to accumulate a list. Add pictures when possible that depict or illustrate that particular thing to you. Broaden your mind to include all sorts of things that you might not think even have anything to do with design. Let's start with books. What books are you drawn to? What types are your favorites? And here's an extra little tip. When we read books, most of us visualize the events and characters and places in our heads. The way you picture the special places in your head from those books, how you visualize them, is a huge clue as to what your subconscious sees as representing a certain home or a place with a mood attached to it, what characteristics it places importance on. So that's just books. What about movies? As you watch a movie, you may become aware that a certain scene in the film elicits feelings that you want in your home. So you may want to add a picture of that movie scene in your collection for your storyboard. The cinema knows how to use design to elicit emotions. So I won't be surprised if you all have movie scenes on your storyboards. Some of you might have trouble describing exactly what feeling you're getting from a particular movie. Don't worry, next episode I'll teach you how. We've covered books and movies, but there is so much more. Here's a list of some other things to consider as you gather information for your storyboard. This is just a small sampling. I'll put a link below to a list with many more ideas to help get you started. Don't worry about analyzing or editing it yet. Just gather. In fact, attempting to analyze and edit too early in the process might actually hamper and prejudice some of the gathering. Later in the next episode, you can look over it and search for common themes when we get to the analyze and edit stage. Not all of these gathered items will be happy, cheerful things. Some might be somber or moody, but think of songs you love. They're not all happy and cheerful. There's a place for a broad spectrum of feelings and moods that we can enjoy and want around us, that we want to experience in our homes. They all have their place. Now I'm going to give you an example from my own life to help get you started. When I was growing up, every summer our family would take a vacation to the Ozarks. We always found some little cabin in the woods with tall pine trees surrounding it and a lake nearby. There was almost always pine paneling inside the cabin, and somewhere a deep red color, whether it was on the floor, the chairs, tablecloth, or curtains, but inevitably it would show up with the pine. There would be a picnic table outside and a campfire pit. My memories were of peace, happiness, and carefree times, and all of the things I listed were associated with that feeling. So whenever I watch a movie with a similar setting, like the first time I watched the Marilyn Monroe movie Niagara, the set design immediately drew me in. The quaint cabins, the pine trees, and the pine paneling, the sound of water and the red checkered seating, all very familiar with significant good feelings attached to each of them. There's something special about those particular things for me. It brings back the feelings of childhood. So for my own personal storyboard, those items are definitely going to be on it. But this is just one small example. It doesn't mean the process is all about childhood memories. It's not. In fact, I hesitated to use an example because it might cause you to overfocus on that one facet. Look at all sorts of things. Gather all the information you can. You will whittle it down later. There's a line from a novel, although I can't find the author. It says, "When information is lacking, all choices are hazardous." When designing for a client, I first like to learn as much as I can about them. That informs the design. But when working on your own design, you have a decided advantage because you already know all about yourself. You won't have to do as much detective work, and you'll have much more to go on. Recently, I designed some rooms for the Parent Trap home tour, rooms we never got to see in the actual movie. So I treated the characters in the film like I would a client, and I gathered all the clues I could find out about their lives, including reading the book that the movie was based on. As I designed the master bedroom, the clues I discovered elsewhere in the house, which informed me about their lives and story, played heavily into the design I ultimately created. First, it had to fit in with the rest of their Spanish colonial revival home, with its thick plastered walls, clay tile floors, large hand-hewn wooden beams overhead, and colorful additions both in art, tiles, stained glass, and furniture. I noticed that they placed a great emphasis on the outdoors. There were openings to the outside everywhere, 2 sets of French doors on the front of the home leading out to the pond, a huge window over the sofa looking out to the courtyard. 2 different sets of doors lead out to the courtyard from the main living area, and the courtyard itself is the center of the home. And it has 2 open passageways leading into it from the exterior. The courtyard is huge, and they obviously spend a lot of time there. The kitchen is detached from the home, meaning you have to go through the outdoors to even enter it. There's an open walkway to the upstairs bedrooms. All of these things tell me they value nature and the outdoors. Their home enfolds nature. And if we examine their lives, we see that they love horseback riding. They enjoy spending time at their pond. We see trophies on Susan's dressers suggesting that she's involved in several outdoor activities. We know Mitch has a cattle ranch and rides around the property in his old Jeep. We also see that they love art, and there's a mixture of both refined and more primitive pieces, and the art is very colorful. The walls are mostly neutral, but the artwork is vibrant. The courtyard is full of color. We also know that his wife Maggie came from a refined Boston background, while Mitch was more the rugged California rancher type. So I took all of this information and used it to inform the design of the room, a room both Mitch and Maggie would be sharing. What I just described was the information gathering part of the design. Now let's tour the master. I left the walls stucco and the floors red clay tile, as was seen in most of the rest of the home. To bring as much of the outdoors in as possible, I added 2 sets of French doors opening out onto a balcony and flanked either side of the bed with large windows above the window seats, surrounded by the same wood paneling found in the adjacent dressing room. There is blue trim on and around the doors to keep it from being too neutral, too beige. This color was seen in their daughter's room and in the tile in their bathroom, so I knew it was a color that they liked. I gave Maggie a little desk area with furniture similar to what she had in her Boston home. The black shelves house books and a leather sofa with exaggerated saddle stitching, bringing to mind their love of horses. On the shelves, we also see a couple photos that would have meaning to them. A picture of the beach near their home that they ride their horses on, and a photo of the night their romance was rekindled at the mock setup of their favorite Italian restaurant. On the floor is a large blue rug, but instead of a more traditional Persian-style rug, I opted for one with more of a modern feel to it, much like a lot of their art had. Below the sconces, the bottom panels pull out to reveal nightstands to keep their items out of sight during the day, but easily accessible at night. I threw in a couple pieces of art with some metaphorical attributes. Let me explain. The first one, by Maggie's desk, is a painting of a fox. When Maggie re-enters Mitch's life and discovers he has a very young fiancé, she's wise to the girl's real intentions and plays a few games of her own to even out the odds in her favor. This painting is entitled Fox Hunt. The fox reminds me of Maggie with her beautiful red hair. A wise fox, not one who's being hunted, but instead turning the tables on the hunter. The second painting over the bed completes the story. It's entitled Out for a Scamper. It features a beautiful woman, once again with red hair, and a young blonde girl by her side. The woman is in heavy pursuit and fully in charge. Together, they're out for a scamper, Maggie and her daughter having a little fun. I followed this same method when I designed 3 more of the rooms we never got to see in the movie: the guest bedroom, Verbina's little casita, and Hecky's ranch hand quarters. You can see all of these rooms in this episode on my channel. As you can see, to create the mood or the tone you want in your home that tells your story, it takes more than just thinking about paint colors, materials, furniture, and decor. It takes time, planning, and a little detective work. It also requires learning design principles to bring all of the separate components together in a way that works, much like the ingredients in a recipe. So why do I take us to the cinema when I teach us these principles? Because they are masters at it. Masters of knowing how to create a mood and tell a story of the people who live there through design. Unlike us with the design in our homes, they only have about 2 hours to tell us everything they want us to know about the people who live there, about those characters, about that family. So they have learned to apply techniques that condense down the design so that it has the greatest impact, to tell the story visually and succinctly. Why wouldn't we want to borrow from their expertise? They've done all of the hard work for us. Let's learn from the masters and find out how to bring those same principles and techniques into our own homes so that we can have the same effect, meaning we can create the mood we want there and tell the story of our family.
Join me next time when we learn how to analyze the information you've gathered and whittle it down to get down to the essential elements of your own unique interior design style. But until then, that's a wrap. See you next time on Cinematically Inspired Design.